Thank you for joining us. It's really great to be chatting with you about this new movie of yours.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's a really good time to be making serial killer movies. I think like everyone's into
I
them.
Yeah, it's very good timing.
What drew you to Ed Kemper in general?
Money. No, you know, it was I had done a film called Pig Killer based on Robert Pickton, a Canadian serial killer. And that was playing pretty well. And a Facebook friend of mine, Mike Muscal, who was a producer who made Ed Gein, Hillside Strangler, Ted Bundy, kind of a slew of the late 90s, early 2000 true crime films. And they're really good. And, so he reached out to me and said, "Hey, are you interested in doing Ed Kemper?" And I said, "Well, yeah, well, I know the story and I've always been intrigued by it. And do you have a script?" And he's like, "Sure, let me shoot it over." And I'm like, "Well, let me get it, this out of the way first and foremost. I mean, I make these things in 10 days for like 100 grand. So if, if that scares you off on, doing this with me, then, don't even bother sending the script because I don't want to waste my time reading it." And he's like, "No, no, hey, that sounds fine. We just want to get it made." And I'm like, "Shoot it over." And the script was great, written by Steven Johnson, who had written Ed Gein. And,
Yep.
I was just totally impressed that he got the facts right. The names were right. That, everything was kind of, there. And my only thing was going through it and kind of making it work on a, $100,000 budget and kind of bumping up the mother son relationship. And, that was it. We were pretty much off and making it within a month of getting the script.
That's incredible, and just in of that, what you said there, you've answered my next like three questions. So like, let's tick them off my list. But I might I might
Great.
I might probe a little bit more. But before I do, I was just thinking like when the TV series Mindhunter came out, everybody became obsessed with Ed Kemper. Like, what do you reckon about him caught their attention, above other killers?
I think the fact that he was so smart and, in a sense, kind of there was remorse to it. He admitted to his crimes and helped the FBI, and there's something that he kind of, and he's just very personable. He's very,
He's
you
such a
know,
he's such a lovely guy.
yeah, a guy you would, hey, I'd like to have a beer with that guy, and
Yeah.
listen to his stories. And I think that's just kind of one of the things. Being 6'9" and 140 IQ is a rarity among among serial killers. And he just had, he could crush you with his hands. I mean, I think it's that whole thing. Part of the reason I think serial killers are so relatable or popular is because people either at one point or time in their life want to kill someone. I want to kill someone yesterday driving. They cut me off, and I'm like, "Oh my god!" For 5 seconds, you're like, "I could murder that person,"
Hmm.
and everyone has a relatable experience, and they also have a relatable experience of being feared of death.
Hmm.
Whether it's someone creeping around your door, or you're watching the news, and the Hillside Strangler is lurking around, and 4 women have been killed, so everyone's kind of on edge that I could be the next victim. So you've got that duality of relatability with being a victim and being a murderer, and that kind of collides with true crime. And I think that's part of the reason it's so popular. I mean, that's why I love it. It's one of those things that you watch this late at night and you're creeped out that, oh, that could be me, or boy, I'd love to do that to my ex-girlfriend. All these things that they kind of coincide and collide with this, the relatability to everyone.
100%, 100%. I know a few TikTok commenters I could apply that to. Recently we had that monster series, the Ed Gain story, which I think universally has been agreed upon that it fucked up the true story completely. How do you approach the whole fact versus fiction? Like, as a creative mind, you're creating some entertainment. Like, is there any lines that are blurred for you?
Yeah, I mean, I try to get as much as the facts right that we can do within the budget. Like Ed Kemper is an example. There was a whole sideline with his activities in the cop bar, where he would buddy up with all these different police and get these stories and all this stuff. And it was just one of those things for time. It's like, well, I've got to cut that out. I mean, as much as I love it and it's interesting and it's true, but you got to kind of choose your battles. And it's like, we just shot a film, Sunset Strip Killers, based on Carol Bundy and Doug Clark, a duo of killers in 1980 that picked up prostitutes on the Sunset Strip and shot them in the face, had sex with their corpses and all that fun stuff. And there was so many things that we shot that ended up on the cutting room floor that it's just like the time that we could have spent on other things, that it was another learning lesson. That was something of, you got to pick what you can from the real story. Also, what's cinematic and what makes, the story flow. You can have a 10-minute scene that's great dialogue of Ed Kemper in a cop bar talking to a cop, but no one gives a shit. I'm sorry to say, it's two dudes talking. The story they want to see, victim number 4, victim number 5, or the going down the garbage disposal. All those things that, on a limited budget, you've got to spend more time with than the nuts and bolts or the love story or that stuff. Because, I hate to say it, I mean, people don't want to sit there, and especially in this day and age with their ADHD and all that other crap, they'll get bored with, Ed Kemper talking for, 10 minutes to a cop. So I choose my, things that I'm like, okay, that's got to go and that's got to go, and, and move the story and try to make something that's, respectful and honest to the true case, but at the same time cinematic, entertaining, and you don't mess up, especially when you're doing these period pieces on a low budget. There's stuff that you're like, okay, well, we can't do that because it's filled with, period incorrect cars or buildings or whatever. Yeah. So patients have to change to kind of fit that. And then, it's just kind of walking that thin line of getting it right. And that's, for me, getting the period correct is so important. And our wardrobe has been awesome on these last few true crime films, where they get stuff that's period correct and it's whatever. Then we find a few cars, we put it in there, and it's like, bingo, we got it. Move on, and get it as close and real to what happened, and at the same time being entertaining, thought-provoking film.
100%. It's better to be accused of leaving stuff out than just making shit up. Like
there's a 2000, I think the 2008 version of Ed Kemper that I was like, oh God, they've already done it. And then I look it up, and it's like, it's got cell phones, it's got the period's totally incorrect. The guy's like 5'3". I mean, it's all that's a waste of fucking time. And and I go, well, if you're going to try and pull it off, at least try to do the period and do these things. So I knew there was.
Oh, you're frozen. Is he frozen for you, Ben?
He's frozen for me.
Competition out there, except the only, still there?
Oh.
Losing connection. There we go.
Sorry.
I think we got you back.
What?
No?
No.
Ed Kemper's out after. It's just, there was no other Ed Kemper really, so that was, except the Mindhunter series got it right. So I mean, it was kind of fresh territory to get to it, and I hope Australia digs it.
Yes, we got the tail end of that. I'm just hoping, we've just got a bad connection here, so we'll try to push on, and hopefully it's all good.
It keeps going. It's okay.
Can you? Go on, Ben.
So I thought, like, the real difficulty in doing the Ed Kemper story is because he is 6'9" and just this huge guy, and you tackle it, well in the film, but his relationship with his mother, and which he has admitted, like, a lot of the female victims were just in place of him trying to kill his mother, because his mother is such a domineering, horrible person. And you get a great performance out of Susan Priver, is absolutely fantastic as the mother. But how do you capture that part where you go, why doesn't he just kill her? Like, why doesn't he just quick twist of the neck, and the constant belittling stops? Like that whole scene where they're watching John Wayne and she just really gives it to him. He's nothing but lovely to her.
Well, he'd be making shit up if he went and did that.
Yeah.
But I think it's also, it's also getting into his head, because I had kind of a fucked up childhood, and there were times you want to kill your father or whatever it might be, because of whatever, and you stop short of it, because that's such a huge sin of, even everyone's been brought up that, anything, even back talking your parents is atrocious. So, I think that's one of the reasons he was so, he waited so long to do it, and get up the nerve to do it, and practice on, unfortunately some co-eds. But, it's everyone, it takes whatever it is to push that button, and for him, it finally broke, and, he was able to, do her in, and have sex with her head. So, I mean, there's so many things that it's just hard to think. I tried, even when writing these things, of relating to my own childhood and own fucked up things, instead of, whining or complaining about it. You try to use those things, those demons and whatever. And the same thing, actors that I've talked to that use the same thing, they'll sense memory or whatever it might be to kind of trigger an emotional response to the character or feel more close to them, is the same thing I apply to writing and directing, of trying to get a feeling of both the killer and the victim, the fear of that. A guy broke into my house a couple of weeks ago, and I had to, I just got home, and then I got my gun, he ran out, and I chased the guy, almost a mile, because he had, half of my shit in a suitcase. And when I tracked him down on the street and pointed a gun at his head, he dropped it immediately and, ran for his life. But I got my stuff back. But it's that sense of being violated, that someone was in your house or whatever. I can only imagine the violation of someone who, is picked up in a car and then can't get out of that car, and she's got a gun in her head, and she, it's just a terrifying thing. But you try to pull just a sense of what they might go through, and the true things that happen to yourself as a writer and a filmmaker.
Yeah, that scene where she's drunk at the back of the door on the floor, like that the angle's very provocative, and I didn't know how to feel about that. Like, I'm feeling all kinds of things right now.
Tingling.
Yeah, you're like, is this going to turn into a completely different kind of film? Is he going to open the door? What's going to happen here?
This is probably more of an observation than a question, but Brink Stevens, like, we've seen her in hundreds of things, but I think this is the best thing she's done in a long time. Like, you get a really good performance out of her. And I know that when the film fell across Ben's desk, his first reaction was, ooh, Brink Stevens. She was great.
Oh, she's fantastic. And it's one of those, Joe Castro, who does the makeup, recommended her, and she auditioned for the part. And I thought, she was so humble and so, excited to even be given the opportunity. And, and then after casting her, she was just amazing on set, and really, I couldn't imagine anyone else playing it. I mean, she was really just fantastic. And I used her again in the film after that, Dorothea, and, just an honor to be working with her. She's fantastic.
100%.
Yeah, you even got everyone's favorite curmudgeon filmmaker, Jeff Leroy, in the film, which was fantastic.
Oh, Jeff's great. I mean, I've used him on the last few films, in every capacity, from, set building to, going and get sodas or whatever. I mean, he's just, he's excited and just a great energy to have on set. I mean,
he's great.
That's the thing about these films. I get a small cast, small crew that I've worked with on numerous films, and we just it's like a family reunion, and we just have fun doing it. And, it's just a blast. And he's definitely part of the team.
But did he ever suggest, like, during the pre-production stage, like, what if instead of Ed Kemper being 6'9", the mum is like 12'10"?
He brought that up numerous times.
Speaking of people you've worked with a lot, like, before I pivot into other questions, we can't ignore the fact that Brandon Kirk played Ed Kemper in this, and you've worked with him many times, as you've worked with many of your cast and crew many times. Was he always going to be your Ed Kemper?
In the back of my mind he was, but, for the other producers, they're like, well, let's see other people. And, we wanted to see some guys that are, like, actually 6'9", and some of them were pretty good and whatever, but they didn't even compare to the magnetism and the humor, in a sense, that, Ed brought, or Brandon brought to it. And then every time, I'm sitting down watching these guys audition, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, they don't seem 6'9". It's, then you stand up next to him, and it's like, okay, yeah, he's tall. But, that was part of the thing. Brandon, I think, was 6'1". So, we tried to shoot him to seem taller. And then we got shorter actresses to work with. I tried to kind of cheat it as best possible to give that height difference something there. But it's hard, to find someone that's, got that. And then everyone goes, well, why didn't you use the guy from Mindhunter? And I'm like, that fucking guy would have been, 10 times the budget of the film. And done it. I mean, he's kind of an idiot. He'd be typecast as playing fucking Ed Kemper.
That's true.
And it's a non-union film. I mean, it's some of these guys that you even ask them, it's like, well, hey, I love the script, I want to do it. I'm like, well, we're shooting it, for a nickel, and it's, we can't even afford union. Oh, well, forget it. Like, okay. So you don't even try to go down that road, because it's almost like a sacrilege that you dare ask them to do a non-union film. But Brandon was fantastic, and it's something, again, someone that I trust, that I know is going to have no problem getting naked and dragging his balls across the gravel.
Yeah, fucking hell.
ripping a girl's bra off, grabbing her crotch, doing all this stuff, because you have to be in the moment, not like, oh, am I hurting you? Or it's got to feel real, and if both actors aren't into that 100%, or one's got trepidation of getting naked or doing the things that really happen, it's wasting everyone's time. And I knew Brandon would give 100%, no qualms of getting naked, no problems, or no complaining, or whining about it, and he was the best and right choice for sure.
And also, he did it in a nice way.
Yes, and did it with a smile.
Just missed the opportunity to put that on the poster.
Yeah. Yes, Ed Kemper, he did it in a nice way. Horrible things. He did horrible things in a nice way.
There's your tagline.
He was very polite.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I want to pivot and just ask you some random questions, if I might. The first one is a two-part question, just about your love of filmmaking in general and how far back it goes. I'd love to know, what was the first movie you remember seeing, and was there a movie that lit your spark or your fire to want to make a movie?
Yeah. Well, I mean, growing up with a little 13-inch black and white Quasar TV, watching Twilight Zone, Alfred Hitchcock Presents, Outer Limits, One Step Beyond, all this stuff, just loving it and just being creeped out by certain things. And, the first film I remember seeing in the theater that really, this is what I want to do, was actually Quest for Fire.
Oh, wow.
And I remember seeing it with my dad, and, when the ape man is on the thing, and the other tribe smashes his hands with the rock, and the blood, and he falls off. It's just things that stick in my head. I can smell that theater. It brings me back to a tiny kid, and seeing this stuff and these amazing images, and the nudity, and the violence, and it's just something that really. That's the film that really sticks out in my mind as being the one time where I'm like, okay, this is something, I'm hooked on film, and I'm hooked on going to the cinema, and all the things that unfortunately is really gone. I mean, there's not a film out in the last 10 years that I'm like, I'm going to get in my car and I'm going to go to the theater. Yeah. Back when you were a teenager, you'd walk 20 miles to go fucking sit in a packed shitty theater, smell, with no AC and whatever, just to see, the Night of the Living Dead remake.
Damn straight.
There's nothing like that now, or in the, I don't even see it happening again. It's really a shame that the time is gone. Or drive-ins, or the video store, all those great things that you just are transported with. And that's what got me wanting to make a film that's one day in a video store, or back on your shelf there, or whatever. Those were the things, because I'm a physical media guy all the way. I mean, I've got Betamax, Laserdisc, everything that was there I grew up on. It was just a thrill and an amazing thing to not only want to own those films that I love, but also try to make something that makes someone else out there that's a little me going up in the screen and saying, hey, I want to do that one day.
That's the correct answer, mate. It's the best answer that any filmmaker's given us, because usually it's Star Wars, fucking Jaws, or Jurassic Park. Like, they're the answers that are on rotation with most people.
Well, it's either that or Popeye. I saw Popeye with my another one that I'm like, if I were to do comedies or Altman style films, I would say Popeye for sure.
Oh, mate, what a banger.
Greatly.
I would
That's
love.
the joy of cinema. I mean, you can see something like, Quest for Fire, and it gives you a hard on. You want to do all this stuff, or you can see Popeye and you're like, oh, that's amazing. It's a cartoon brought to life. And you hear later, oh, they did all this cocaine. Well, that's even better.
I was going to say, you watch Quest for Fire. You watch Quest for Fire, makes you want to make a movie. You watch Popeye, makes you want to do cocaine so bad.
You watch Ed Kemper with the mum at the back of the door, makes you want to masturbate. Like, it's just,
Bingo.
I'd love to ask you about Easter Bunny Kill Kill. That film has become a bona fide sort of cult favorite with fans. Would you return to that for like a sequel or a
Oh,
reboot? Yeah.
in a heartbeat. I mean, if look, if the thing is the thing that did fuck up, and I'll say, this quite honestly, like, and I guess it started with Nightcaller. Nightcaller did all right. We finished that and whatever, and it's like, but it was kind of like on the middle. Was it going to do better, or is it going to kind of stay there, or is it going to drop down completely? Fuck it. Let's just go make a sequel to it. That'll help. And that sequel, Scalper, was a complete fucking utter bomb. And it really kind of taught me, okay, let's make sure we're making stuff that there's an audience for.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, because I've made Easter Bunny Kill Kill and whatever, and there isn't necessarily an audience for it. And I learned to kind of detach myself. If someone's there and say, "Hey, we love Easter Bunny Kill Kill. We'll give you another 50. We'll give you 50 grand to go make a sequel." In a heartbeat, I would do it, of course. If they're not saying, "Look, we want to make $1 million with it," because I go, "You're never going to fucking make $1 million. You'll be lucky to break even on grand." But and I would embrace anything like that. But if someone were to say, "Hey, go make it with your own money or go do this," I'd say, "Fuck you, man. I'm going to stick with true crime because people are buying that." I mean,
well,
I hate to say it because the artistry and the love of cinema inside you is like, look, I want to make a movie about this or that, and then you just want to go do it. But at the same time, I've learned to kind of say, well, is there a market for that? Do people want to see that? Does this distributor want to buy it and get behind it? And if the answer is no, then walk away. True crime, they've every one of these that I make or I'm talking about making, the distributor's got a hard on for it. So I'm like, okay, this is the right direction. I enjoy doing it, and when people go about the victims or whatever, I try to, walk a line of making a film that's not only entertaining, but respectful to, in that as much as you can, because no matter how respectful you are to the victims, it's still disrespectful to be making a film based on whatever this stuff. So I get really offended at the people even asking the fucking question because, it's disrespectful for me to be making it. It's disrespectful for you to be watching it. But seeing there's a market for it and it's interesting, I kind of say, well, fuck it. Let's make it and let's do it. And so and it's up to the viewer to say, well, hey, I am interested by it. I'm going to watch it. I don't even think about that aspect of it. And but there's some reviewers I've had and there's some things I've had where they whine about that, and I just get kind of annoyed where it's like, look, it's all ghoulish in one way, shape, or form. It's kind of the way you justify it to yourself for watching it or for making it or whatever. And if you can sleep at night, then God bless you.
Like I loved Easter Bunny Kill Kill, but as someone who's worked in distribution, you've only got one time a year that you can release that film. Whereas something that's as fantastic as Someone's Knocking at the Door, you can release that any time of the year, and then you can sit there and go, why don't all of your films have someone wearing a woman as a hat? Like Mr. Bean does it with a turkey, and then you go even further. But it's her. She's the one that gets his head and shoves it up. And then I was like, this is the most amazing thing I have ever seen on film ever. This is great. Take that, Noah Sagan. Take that.
Yes. But that's funny. Those are the last two films of mine that were released in Australia. That's the other fucked up thing. Whereas before, now it's harder and harder, and that's why I'm excited that Ed Kemper is finally getting out there and going down under. I mean, that's great. I hope they pick up Pig Killer and the other ones that I've got. It's when you make these things and that's another sign of it not doing well. Scalper doesn't get an Australia release, or Nightcaller didn't get there, and you're kind of like, oh, that's a bummer, or whatever. So a film that gets picked up for other countries, you're like, well, it's crossed that bridge. That's a good sign. So I'm going to stick with that that genre, because I know it's not only going to be profitable, but it's going to be seen by people and people will talk about it. It's nothing more disheartening than making a film that no one sees, no matter how good you think it is or how many reviews it got. It boils down to, is there an audience for it, and are they seeing it? And if they're not, then you blew an opportunity that you could have made something that reached more people. And I think that's what, the older I get and the more, wary of the battle, that I learn that the business side of it and the artistic side of it are 50-50.
Yeah.
And like when the distributor comes to me and they're like, hey, you've got to cut 10 minutes out of Dorothea, otherwise, we don't want to release it. I'm like, I'll cut 90 minutes out. I don't give a shit. Whatever you want, whatever makes you happy. And we're, because we're a partnership. You need to make money. I need to get the film seen. As long as you give me a director's cut that I can release, a year later on Blu-ray and DVD, do whatever the fuck you want to it. And, the U.S. distributor, Dread, Epic Pictures, has been fantastic with that. And they're like, whatever you want, as long as you give us a version that we're happy with and that we can release. And I'm like, we're partners. Let's do it.
Amazing.
Whereas a lot of filmmakers get, so whiny about it. They're like, that's my baby. That's my, and it's like, well, if you want your baby to be seen, you've got to make certain sacrifices. And sometimes those sacrifices might be for the better. I mean, they've got, 10 people of all different ages watching it at the distribution company, and maybe they know certain things that are offensive to a millennial group or to a Gen Z or whatever it might be that I'm missing completely. That maybe if it's going to get a better reaction or seen by more people, if that's what they want, I'll give it to them. As long as my version will be released on the only format I care about, the Blu-ray, whatever. So it doesn't really matter.
Dorothea is probably a really good one to sort of to bring this this chat to a close. Like, I've never heard of Dorothea, another serial killer movie. Can you tell us about her and tell us about this film?
Yeah, she basically in the late 70s, early 80s, she ran a boarding house in Sacramento, California. And she was always kind of a femme fatale sort of person, check forgery, getting people, drunk and then stealing, their jewelry and whatnot. Her whole life was kind of that way. And she basically got this boarding house in Sacramento, rented it out to, elderly and indigent, homeless people and whatever, and started collecting their Social Security. And, when they would basically say, I'm moving out, I don't want you, taking my checks anymore, she would poison them, bury them in the backyard, and then continue getting the Social Security checks, cashing them, and what she had really, kind of an entrepreneurial serial killer side. Where
that's what I like, an entrepreneurial serial killer.
Yes, where she was, and she went, pretty much a decade of doing this and not getting caught and cashing government checks and, and getting away with it because she was this kindly looking, grandmother. And everyone was kind of like, oh, people disappearing. Oh, well,
Yeah.
it couldn't be her. She's, 90 years old and, she's got blue hair and, how could she hurt anyone? So when they ended up finding all these bodies in her backyard, it kind of all came back to bite her, and she, got a life sentence in prison. And it's just a very colorful film and a great departure from Ed Kemper, because I kind of saw it as a film noir mixed with this true crime, mixed with Goodfellas and, a lot of Robert Aldrich, whatever happened to Baby Jane mixed with a little, whatever happened to Aunt Alice. I mean, these certain things that of films that I greatly admire, I could interject in this true story of this kindly, grandmother bumping off these people with not only a dark humor to it, but, almost a grand guignol style of, making a film that's a complete opposite from Ed Kemper. And, because that's what, you try to find these things that excite you as a filmmaker as much as the audience might be excited by it.
And what a cast. Andrew Buzzington comes back in that one. Ginger Lynn's in it. Brink Stevens again. Susan Priver. What a great cast.
Oh, it's fantastic.
So is that film done? Like, are you still working on it?
Yeah, it's coming out on Halloween here in the States in the theaters, and then on November 4th streaming, and hopefully the same distributor that picked up Ed Kemper in Australia will pick up Dorothea.
Yeah, we should have a word to Eagle about doing a Chad Ferrin serial killer box set.
Oh yes.
Yes, tell me Pig Killer.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll send them this grab.
Yes. They get Pig Killer, Dorothea, Ed Kemper. They got 3 right there. I've got another one, Sunset Strip Killers, that we're just finishing post-production on. And I'm shooting Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez in February. That's going to be like Lucio Fulci all the way.
Oh, my God.
Fulci true crime.
Do you find that you've subconsciously rubbing your hands with glee every time like a new serial killer enters into the pop culture? He's like, ooh, like Ivan
Well,
Rasimov, the Russian one. Yes, let's bring that one.
well, there's so many from ever,
Yeah.
going, to choose from. But it was one of those things where the Netflix stuff, love them or hate them, that really kind of pushed, the Ed Kemper deal, because I was like, geez, look at how well Dahmer's doing over at Netflix, and like, oh, let's see the rough cut of Ed Kemper. Send it over immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, they bought that film before it was even done, and then Dorothea, they bought it off the script. So I knew that it's like, okay, this true crime stuff is where it's at. I mean, I've never had that response. Whether the films are good or bad, I don't give a shit anymore. It's one of those things where you're like, okay, there's a market for this. As long as it's in focus, as long as you're willing to do this, I'm going to do it on the surface, of course, because I give my heart and soul to each of these productions. I die 10 years are out of me on each film, even though how fast they are. But I put my entire soul into each and every film. And when it's done, for me, it's done. It's out of my mind. I'm not thinking about bad reviews, good reviews, money. I'm on to the next one. And in that, there's a freedom. Whereas before, you'd be like, oh man, Easter Bunny didn't make any money, or this. I got a bad review. People say I should die, and you want to just go put a shotgun in your mouth. And I just said, forget that. Let it all go. Focus on the next. Do the best you can with each film, and then move on to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. Because I could get killed by a serial killer tomorrow. So
Yeah. But that's how you have a career in film, as opposed to a one and done filmmaker who never gets another film up again, because they don't understand the actual business of making films. But I just want to put this out there. I don't know if it's been done already, but that the Asylum thing, like, can you do like Ed Kemper versus Ed Gein?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. First.
And have them,
Pretty
like
good.
Freddy versus Jason, and just do like a serial killer mashup.
Bundy versus
boy,
Gacy.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, the dating game killer versus Ed Kemper. Like, they go after the co-ed appears on the dating game show, and they.
Dude, you've struck gold. Dorothea versus Lizzie Borden.
Yeah.
that is gold.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, listening to you talk there, I'm like, Ben, we need to change tacks. We've been like working on this little creature feature. Like, we need to do a serial killer movie. Like, that's where it's at.
Well, I think you got it. You bring them both together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could do the Frankston Killer versus the Yorkshire Ripper. Writes itself. Awesome.
That's good.
This has been the most fun we've had in an interview for a long time. So thanks so much for joining us on the show. We encourage everyone to go out and check out Ed Kemper, or Co-Ed Killer as it's called down here. Good stuff. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks guys. Let's do it again.
Hello, Santa Cruz Police Department.
Malone speaking. I'm all finished now.
Hello?
Anybody there?
There's sunshine in this endless jungle.
And this apparently was a grisly pattern set in the death of a girl whose body parts were found scattered from here in Santa Cruz to all over the state.
Hey there! Kind of out here all by yourself, aren't you? I don't want to scare you or anything, but some pretty horrible things have been happening. I don't like the idea of leaving you out here like this.
There's something seriously wrong with him. I mean, I feel guilty as his mother, but he's just not right.
Hey, Ma. I hope you're happy now. I killed Grandma and Grandpa. To grow and develop as human beings, we must embrace and study what we've done.
You're special. One day, your Ma and the whole world will know that.
What are those?
Oh, just some pictures. Just me and some friends.
You got friends.
Hell, Mom.
What are you doing in there?
Sleeping. All I want is for you to be proud of me. Bye now. Don't forget me.